Good evening. Welcome to the Big Story. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Ho.
And I'm Sean Yao.
Tonight's big stories. After getting hopes up that he will attend tomorrow's Quad Committee hearing, former President Rodrigo Duterte sends word that he'll be missing it after all.
Over at the upper chamber, a parallel investigation into the Duterte drug war is underway. But instead of Senators Bato de la Rosa or Bongo, it is Coco Pimentel who is taking the lead as head of the Blue Ribbon Subcommittee.
And Ilocos Norte Governor Matthew Marcos Manotoc defends his mom, Senator Amy Marcos, after Vice President Sara Duterte's outburst last week. He called the Vice President's tirade saddening and shocking.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte will not be attending the House Quad Committee hearing tomorrow on the war on drugs after all.
That's even though he said last week he would be happy to go and answer questions. But just this evening, Quad co-chair Congressman Dan Fernandez broke the news that they've received a letter with Duterte's regrets.
Still, House lawmakers say that even if the former president does not turn up or testify, they have enough materials on hand to recommend a case to the Justice Department. Marian Enriquez with a big story tonight.
Former President Rodrigo Duterte will not be attending the House Quad Committee's hearing after all. Just 4 days ago, on the Gikan sa Masa para sa Masa program of his former legal advisor Sal Panelo, Duterte said he would be happy to attend if he were invited. Hindi ako aatras dyan, he said specifically. True enough, the committee sent him an invitation letter delivered by the PNP. But Quad co-chair Congressman Dan Fernandez told our sister program, Sa Totoo Lang, just this evening that they've already received a letter from the former president declining the invite.
Kanina may na-receive kaming letter coming from the former president at he mentioned na unfortunately baka hindi siya makarating tomorrow. We received that letter but I'm going to read it pa rin mamaya. I think baka hindi natin alam, baka biglang dumating siya or what. Alam naman natin ang former president, lagi may mga ganong may mga ganong style yon. So let's still hope na makarating siya para at least maliwanagan yung lahat.
Tomorrow is the first hearing after ex-police officer and former PCSO General Manager Ruina Garma's bombshell testimony, wherein she said it was Duterte himself who ordered the so-called Davao model to be replicated nationwide. She also said there was a reward system in place with cash incentives between 20,000 pesos up to 1 million pesos for killings. Garma is expected to share more information in tomorrow's hearing. Also expected to attend the hearing is ex-NAPOLCOM Commissioner Edelberto Leonardo, whom Garma said was the main implementer behind the war on drugs. Fernandez says even if Duterte does not show up or admit wrongdoing, they have enough material to recommend a case to the DOJ.
Hindi na bago lahat yung mga pinag-uusapan namin sa Kongreso. Yun nga lamang, wala talaga nag-verify, walang nag-validate, at walang nag-affidavit at nagsalita under oath. Si Garma pa lamang ang gumawa nun. Yung sinasabi ni PRRD sa kanyang mga pronouncement were all true because it was mentioned or testified under oath by those resource persons which we have invited. When hindi siya darating tomorrow, all those validation that had been manifested and testified by the resource persons, I think are good enough, para at least mai-recommenda namin to sa DOJ.
Garma's testimony corroborates earlier statements made by Lieutenant Colonel Jovi Espenido. In addition, 2 inmates who spoke before the Quad Committee also claimed Duterte ordered the killing of 3 Chinese citizens convicted of drug charges inside a Davao City prison in August 2016. Quad Committee lead chair Congressman Ace Barber says they will afford the former president due courtesy if he does turn up.
We will afford him the courtesy due to a former president. Alam niyo naman dito sa Quadcom, nire-respeto naman natin yung rights ng ating mga resource persons at ng ating mga witnesses. Taliwas diyan sa iniisip ng iba sa pagbabati ko sa amin na we do not daw respect the individual rights of our witnesses as well as our resource person.
Marbers has also proposed that the House and Senate do a joint probe into the drug war.
I think mas malawak, mas komprehensibo, at siyempre mas maraming mga intelligent questions na maitatanong ang mga membro nitong committee ito.
But in a text message, Senate President Cheese Escudero hinted that this may not be possible under existing rules. During a press conference earlier, the Quad was also asked what they would do if Duterte does show up and refuses to take the oath, as his daughter Vice President Sara did.
Palagay ko yung tanong kanina, palagay ko mas civil si former president kaysa kay Vice President. Palagay ko, magte-take ng oath yan. Mas civil siya eh.
For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
And over in the Senate, it is Minority Leader Coco Pimentel who will be leading their investigation into the war on drugs. Senate President Cheese Escudero had initially tasked the Blue Ribbon Committee to do it. But he told radio station DZBB that since Blue Ribbon Chair Senator Pia Cayetano will be busy being a re-electionist, they decided to form a subcommittee instead. This subcommittee will be chaired by Senator Pimentel. Escudero pointed out that per Senate rules, only the Blue Ribbon Committee can launch an investigation motu proprio or at its initiative while the chamber is in recess. In an interview on our sister program Storycon, Pimentel said he won't be forcing Senators Bongo and Bato de la Rosa to answer questions.
They are not resource persons, they are members of the committee. So they will be given time to ask questions, pero sa interaction namin, as chairman, pwede ako tanong sa kanila, pero hindi sila force sumagot. Pwede nila sagutin, pwede rin nila hindi sagutin. I will not be questioning them actually. Actually, mangyayari ganito. I will be giving time sa lahat ng members for them to ask questions, for them to deliver statements.
Pimentel says they will have to fast-track the hearings and will likely kick off next week since they also have to tackle the national budget. He added that they will focus on the killings during Rodrigo Duterte's presidency and not on allegations from as far back as when he was mayor of Davao City.
Concentrate kami sa war on drugs ng Duterte presidency. So wag kami bumalik sa nung time na mayor siya kasi dito tayo sa war on drugs 2016, June 2016 to June 2022. Para focus po kami.
In the words of this generation, is it friendship over for Vice President Sara Duterte and Senator Amy Marcos? Senator Amy has yet to address publicly last week's outburst by the Vice President, but her son has spoken up. Ria Fernandez with the big story.
The first person in the Marcos family to speak up about Vice President Sara Duterte's outburst is Senator Amy Marcos' son, Ilocos Norte Governor Matthew Manotoc. Last Friday, Duterte held a nearly 2-hour-long live-streamed press conference wherein she revealed that at one point she threatened Amy that she will exhume and throw out to see the body of their father, Ferdinand Marcos Sr., if the political attacks don't stop. In a Facebook post today, Manotoc said that he was shocked to hear that his mother was included in the rant, considering that his mother has always been a loyal friend and supporter of the VP for many years. He also recalled a few interactions with the Vice President, whom he remembers as friendly and professional. Manotoc went on, "It's very disheartening to see her making things personal, as many say this is just politics." He ended his post with well wishes for the VP, with hope that she finds peace. Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel says he was just as shocked. The Senate Minority Leader, whose father Nene Pimentel was a known Marcos critic, thought at first the video was artificial intelligence generated.
Nagulat ako, akala ko, sabi ko, AI ba ito? Hindi naman, totoo pala. So it's really unusual yung mga sinabi po ni Vice President Sara Duterte. And to me, it's strange, no, na in the first place na naisip niya yon, tapos verbalize lang niya.
For Deputy House Speaker Dong Gonzales, Sara Duterte crossed the line. He says if that were him in Amy's shoes, he would cut ties with her.
Kung ako po Senator Amy Marcos, sinabi sa tatay ko yon, palagay ko, hindi na po kami pwedeng magkita at mag-usap sa panahon na yon. Sasabihin ko, ibang klase na to, ibang usapan na to. Nuhukayin niya at itatapon niya, palagay ko napakasakit po nun. So bilang isang Kristiyano, bilang isang batang pinalaki sa maayos, palagay ko foul po yun.
Justice Secretary Boying Remulla called it very disturbing and says they will study her remarks to see if she violated any code.
Very disturbing for a person of her rank, second highest official of the land. The remarks are unbecoming, I think. And it does not augur well for the dignity of the office. So we have to treat the office as sacred, I mean, in many ways. And to speak that way is unbecoming.
Remulla did not say the specific case they are looking at, but there's desecration of a dead body. There's also Article 353 or libel, which includes intent to dishonor the memory of a dead person.
Desecrates the memory of a person, desecrates the peaceful state that he must be in, having already perished, and he disturbed the body. And there are many other moral principles that are being violated. And we're looking at the legal aspects also. We're conducting a study.
Senate President Cheese Escudero likewise called her rants unbecoming of the second highest official of the land. The Vice President saying she will dig up Marcos Sr.'s remains have already made headlines overseas, including on the UK's The Guardian and Singapore's Channel News Asia. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Let's delve into some of these issues a bit more. We have with us tonight House Quad Committee Co-Chair and Manila 6th District Congressman Benny Abante. Good evening, Congressman Abante. Welcome back to The Big Story.
Hello, magandang gabi po sa inyo. Beautiful ladies of One News.
Okay. I don't know that we deserve that, but anyways, let's talk serious matters. First of all, Congressman Dan told us that former President Rodrigo Duterte is not attending tomorrow's hearing. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, we received a letter from his lawyer na hindi siya makaka-attend because he's not actually feeling well. I do not know if that is already very much confirmed, but that is what the letter says.
Sino po yung signatory, Kong? Who signed off on the letter?
Signatory yung abogado niya eh. I forgot the name, but it's the lawyer that signed it.
Okay. How does that change the outcome of the hearings if he is unable to attend any of your sessions?
Well, we just have to make some adjustments. It's not really a big change. We're expecting that he might not be able to attend. So we have other witnesses that we are going to ask questions to and be able to really see a lot of things na dapat malaman ng taong bayan.
Congressman, sabi po ng kanyang abogado, posible raw after November 1. Is that correct?
Yeah, yun ang nakalagay dun sa sulat na he might be available after November 1. So of course, it will again depend on how well he is actually.
If he doesn't attend, will you cite him also in contempt?
Well, the thing is, we have been talking about that, and if he, well, makikita naman namin kung talagang merong talagang valid reason for him not to attend. But if he is just skirting the issue, and that matutulad siya kay Harry Roque na hindi siya mag-attend, we might issue a show cause order for him to attend. Although we actually respect him to be the former president, yet he has to remember that he is now a private citizen.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, Congressman Abante, but wala naman pong subpoena for the former president. Instead, there is just a standing invitation. Can you confirm? na ganun nga po? And is there...
Walang subpoena. It's just standing invitation, yes.
Okay, so are you planning to issue a subpoena to guarantee that his attendance in future hearings? Kasi hindi naman po pwede magkaroon ng contempt citation kapag walang subpoena, right?
Well, the thing is, we are going to look at the reason. If there's a valid reason why, there's no need for us to issue a subpoena.
How will we know his reason is valid, though, Kong? I mean, if he says he's feeling unwell, how do we verify that? Will we say...
For example, like he's not feeling well, for example, like he might go to the hospital or a doctor said, meron namang medical certificate yan that he can attend. That's a valid reason. That's a valid reason.
So we would ask for a medical certificate then as proof.
Yes, in fact, we're going to really, yung bang give him all the respect and the cordiality that we should, because he's the former president. He's not just any ordinary witness we're going to call it.
Well, there was a proposal to bring the hearings to Davao. Matutuloy po ba yung ganong proposal?
We are actually thinking about that. Para lang maka-attend na siya. Hindi siya maka-attend because he still has to travel to Manila. We might as well go to Davao so he could be able to come and attend.
But worst case scenario, Kong Benny, if, for example, he fails to show up in any of the succeeding hearings after November 1, are you prepared, or is the Quadcom prepared, to just finish and wrap up the hearings without the attendance of the former president?
Well, we are prepared to wrap up the hearings as long as we are finished with every investigation we're going to do.
Well, speaking of resource persons, one person that we're hearing that will attend tomorrow's hearings is NAPOLCOM Commissioner or former NAPOLCOM Commissioner Adalberto Leonardo. Is that correct? And has he given a sworn statement?
Well, we're still waiting for his sworn statement. I do not know if he still would be willing to do that. But Colonel Garma will be attending, Colonel Espinito will be attending, Colonel Patay will be attending, Colonel Marcos will be attending. So, andun lahat andun lahat yung mga dating mga tao ni former president. They'll all be attending, including the loved ones of the victims. They'll be there.
So no confirmation yet from Adalberto Leonardo?
I don't think there's any confirmation yet, although nakadetain naman siya sa house.
Okay.
You said you were waiting for his sworn statement. Does that mean he's given indication that he will cooperate with the investigation?
The thing is, he said that he will be saying something, no? But I don't think that he will be able to answer all of the questions given to him. So we're just allowing him to think it over for a while.
Ano po yung sasabihin niya, Kong? Do we know?
Like for example, I cannot actually reveal those things right now. But siguro I could be able to reveal something like the reward system. We'd like to make sure that masasabi niya na meron talagang reward system. Although sinasabi niya na he does not have any personal knowledge about it, maaaring sabihin niya, he heard about it, and whatever it is that he would like to say.
Has he been cooperative?
Yeah, in a way he is. Naka-detain naman siya ron, and very cordial naman ang pag-uusap namin. Okay naman siya. He's not giving us any problem at all.
Okay, lihis ko lang ng konti yung conversation, Congressman Abante. I think earlier today, the Quad Committee turned over some files, some documents to the Office of the Solicitor General to be able to file cases against 3 POGO bosses. What can you tell us about this? Or may napag-usapan ba kayo ng OSG about how these cases will proceed?
Hindi ko nakuha yung lahat ng mga question nyo. Medyo
nag-choppy po ba?
Nawala yata. Anyway, yes, we are submitting to the OSG the vital documents that we have, so that initial investigation will start actually.
Okay.
Okay, sabi po ng Kongreso that you have enough material already to recommend a case build-up to the Department of Justice. At this point, do you see the hearings concluding soon, or do we still have a lot to reveal in the upcoming days? And also, will the Vice President's name come up? Because he did mention, or she did mention in the press conference, na nababalitaan niya na hindi pa nababanggit yung pangalan niya, pero maaaring mabanggit na at gustong idawit ang kanyang pangalan.
Well, in a way, we're able to see a silver lining on this. No, I'm not yet sure if we could be able to wrap up the hearing anytime soon. But I can assure everyone that we are going to finish this hearing, no? As long as we have all the investigations, the documents, the witnesses that we are going to talk to.
Do you guys have a...
Kasi tatlo yan eh.
Oo nga eh.
We have the EJK, we have the POGO, we have the drugs, no? So, marami bang pag-uusapan dyan actually.
Yeah, and do you guys have a rough deadline or goal on when this committee report can be wrapped up?
No, we do not have a deadline actually. We're just looking into the investigations being done. No? Kasi, ang nangyayari, kapag kami nagkakaroon ng hearing, may mga lumalabas pa eh. In fact, meron pang ilan na nagpapasabing, imbitahan mo to o imbitahan mo ako to, say something about it, whatever. Meron pa mga lumalabas eh. So, we do not know. We're not setting the date for us to be able to wrap up the investigations.
Speaking of the Vice President, Congressman Abante, I watched a press conference earlier by the Quad Committee, and you guys were all outraged by her outburst on Friday, right? Most of you guys were suggesting that she seek professional help. Pero I just wanted to point out as well that this kind of, what do you call it, unfiltered stream of consciousness ramblings was initially made famous by her father, right? Her father was famous for his late night press conferences where he would attack his political enemies. But back then, nobody said anything. So I'm just wondering, what is different? This time around, everybody's criticizing her. So what's different between the father and the daughter?
I think that the father is more civil and respectful, no? But not the daughter. Yan lang ang masasabi ko. I believe that the father, the former president, is more respectful, especially when you begin to say something about the dead, no? I think that there ought to be proper respect for that. Pero si Vice President Sara, hindi ko alam ang nangyari. I'm even surprised that she could be able to say that, not only being the Vice President, but being a lady as well.
Well, the former president did call God stupid. Wasn't that outrageous as well?
He called a lot of people a lot of names. I remember he called people morons, he called them stupid, he called the former President Barack Obama a son of a, something I can't repeat on air.
As well as a lot of words that we can repeat on air.
He was the one who pushed the boundaries of what's acceptable to be said publicly, right? So, yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
You actually cannot, how do you call this? You actually cannot trust a very angry and hateful person, for that matter.
Okay. I just want to clarify one statement you made. I think, Kong Benny, you said that these hearings are also in aid of prosecution, which is clearly what a lot of people are thinking, but also not one of the functions of Congress. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I know that some people perhaps didn't understand what I'm trying to say, but the thing is this, no? In our Quadcom hearings, siguro ako lang magsasabi nito, no? It's not only in aid of legislation. In fact, we are prepared to be able to amend some laws and to be able to file some bills, no? About 10 to 15 of them, no? Pero ito rin would be in aid of prosecution. Not because we can prosecute, because we cannot. But we can recommend to the DOJ, the Solicitor General, to the NBI, you ought to start the investigation because we have the documents already. So we might not be able to prosecute, but needless to say, it is actually an aid of prosecution too.
And what laws are you looking at? Speaking of in aid of legislation, what laws are you looking at amending?
We have already filed two bills, making the EJK a heinous crime. And secondly, we filed a bill totally banning Pogo. And we are also looking into filing a bill about the espionage bill. And perhaps we would like the death penalty to be back among our legislations. And of course, we will look into some amendments that we're going to make as far as the Bureau of Immigration is concerned, because I think the people should know that you can get visa not only in the Bureau of Immigration, you can get visa from the economic zones, you can get visa from the DFA, and dami. And it's not even centralized. The PI does not even know how many visas have been actually given to people. And most of that, sabi sa akin, that the Chinese people na nagpunta rito ng mga illegal, nakakuha ng visa yan sa economic zones. So we would like to be able to find out and perhaps be able to amend the law on that.
You've always been a vocal proponent of the reinstatement of the death penalty. In fact, in 2019, diba po, you were pushing for the reinstatement of the death penalty.
Yes.
Are you saying you haven't changed your mind about it? And are you saying the more of the House lawmakers now are in favor of bringing back death penalty?
I am so glad that they're now in favor. Of course, I'm the only bishop that is actually in favor of the death penalty, And I believe so, because naniniwala naman ako that the death penalty is pro-life. It is not actually death, but it is a death penalty for people of heinous crimes.
I don't. It sounds a bit of a paradox to me that you're pro-life, but you are pushing for death penalty. Under what circumstances would death penalty qualify as pro-life, Kong?
Well, I'm actually a Bible believer, and even in the Old Testament, it says that when you take life, that life should be taken away from you. So sa akin, it is the God has given the government the right to make laws on what we call as corporal punishment or capital punishment for that matter. So, yun ang paniwala ko dyan, we are not talking about any killing of anyone else, but we're talking about the death penalty of those that commit heinous crimes, actually.
And you're saying that more of your colleagues at the lower house are in support of this?
I believe so, yes.
Have you've had discussions? You think you've got the numbers for it?
Well, I cannot say if we have the numbers, but as you can see how it went, the Quadcom hearing, nakita nyo naman na naniniwala naman kami sa war on drugs. Hindi na naniniwala dito. Bakit kinakailangan pumatay ka ng maraming tao? And the thing is, you call the death of people that are not even involved in drugs a collateral damage, to us, we cannot understand that, Why do you have to kill as many as 20,000 people just for you to be able to actually deal with the drug problem in this country?
Well, but why were these questions not raised in the previous administration? Because the other criticism as well is that these have been happening since pretty much former President Duterte. These have allegedly been happening since pretty much former President Duterte sat in that chair, right? So why are we? Why
all of
only
us
now?
know it would be very hard because in the past, even in the previous administration, the president controls Congress. I was the minority leader then. And in any congresses, for example, it is always the president controls Congress. It's so hard to do that. But then, when I became the chairman of the Committee on Human Rights, and then we have Congresswoman Fran Castro, who delivered a privileged speech on the EJK. And then we have Congressman Manuel filing a bill, a resolution on that. I think it's time for us to be able to investigate. It's not a motu proprio investigation, but this is on the basis of the resolution and the privilege speech given.
Congressman, there will be a parallel investigation in the Senate. Have they requested for your assistance? And how do you expect that to go?
Well, as I've said before, the Bible says two is better than one. So, kung gusto nila magkaroon ng parallel investigation dyan, it's up to them. Mas maganda siguro kanina, binanggit ni Chairman Ace Barbers, and I would agree with him, na sana pag-isahin na lang. Let the Senate and Congress have, one investigation on this. Magkatulungan na kami. Kung talagang serious sila na i-end namin ang mga bagay-bagay na ito sa ating lipunan.
Okay, unfortunately, we've run out of time, so we're going to have to leave that there. Thanks so much for talking to us tonight. That's House Quad Committee Co-Chair, Congressman Benny Abante. We'll be tuning into your hearing tomorrow.
Pausing now for a quick break, but up next, we will be talking to former COA Commissioner and now senatorial aspirant Heidi Mendoza. When the big story returns, keep it here. And you're back on the big story here on One News.
It is now up to Senator Grace Poe, who chairs the Senate Finance Committee, whether they will ask Vice President Sara Duterte to attend their deliberations on the OVP budget. Now, that's according to Senate President Cheese Escudero, who pointed out that Poe is the budget sponsor for the OVP. VP Duterte had previously indicated her willingness to participate in the deliberations at the upper chamber. Still, the last time Duterte participated in a Senate Finance Committee hearing back in August, she ended up in a heated exchange with Senator Risa Hontiveros, whom she accused of politicizing her budget. Her OVP budget currently stands at 733 million pesos, roughly in line with that of her predecessor, Leni Robredo. Our second guest tonight is someone who knows a lot about public funds, having worked with the Commission on Audit. Former COA Commissioner and now senatorial aspirant Heidi Mendoza joins us on The Big Story tonight. Welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Gretchen. Good evening, Regina. Good evening, Sean.
Well, Commissioner,
Good evening,
there's
sa
been
ating
a lot of talk about budgets, about the OVP budget, about confidential funds, about
Unprogrammed,
excess funds, unprogrammed appropriations. No, we have a lot of questions, but I wonder, how does it feel now to be on the sidelines, seeing everything at work? Have you seen these problems long time ago? And speaking of a long time ago, I believe back during your term with COA in 2015 was when the joint circular on intelligence funds was created.
Issued, yeah.
So tell us all about first your thoughts on what's been happening in the public arena, and the second
terms of
one on
the
the joint
budget.
circular.
Okay, what's been happening in terms of the budget? First, we are seeing for the first time that there's a huge increase in the unprogrammed funds. And it's a bit risky, because unprogrammed funds, they do not have a specific release, they do not have a specific release document.
Yeah.
And there is a lesser form of control, unlike the regular fund. Kasi nga sa unprogrammed, hindi mo alam kung kailan mo i-release, di ba? And may isa pa rin nakakabagder dito, and that is yung niligay nila doon sa general appropriations na dati-dati kasi, pwede ka lang maglipat sa unprogrammed funds kapag meron kang tinatawag na untapped revenue. Ibig sabihin, meron kang naisip na kakaibang pwedeng pagkunan ng pera, pero hindi mo na isama dati. So you can include that. Pwede rin na proceeds of a foreign borrowing, or savings. And then, ngayon may dinagdag sila.
You're talking about the fourth provision, yung number 4.
Ang tatawag nila yung funds, yung sinasabi na lang idle funds, di ba? So ito yung mga medyo nakakakaba. Dahil pag nakita natin, medyo malayo na yung itsura ng tinatawag nating National Expenditure Program na sinabmit ng Presidente vis-a-vis yung inapprove ng Kongreso. At nung tinitingnan ko yung individual amounts nitong mga iba't ibang ahensya, ang laki-laki rin ng increase ng budget ng Congress, di ba? So parang sa akin, so ito yung parang problema. Kasi dapat yung Presidente nagtutulak ng budget. Ikaw ang nagde-drive ng agenda, di ba? Ikaw nagsiset ng national development agenda, di ba? So dapat, control mo yung budget kahit papaano. By the time pumunta sa Kongreso yan. Pag nakita mo medyo malayo na yung itsura ng budget na pinropose mo, vis-a-vis yung na-approve na, yung pinag-uusapan during the deliberation, dapat meron kang ginagawa para dyan, di ba? At lalong-lalo na kapag nakikita mo na maraming inililipat sa program, tapos lumalaki yung budget ng Kongreso. Pag tinignan niyo yung increase ng bawat offices for 2024, huge increase ang budget ng Congress, no? And second, ang mahalaga dito, hindi ito nakikita ng mga tao, ng mga ordinaryong tao. So that is exactly how I feel, di ba?
Nakikita nyo kasi lahat naiintindihan ninyo.
Ako na-alarm ako. Sabi ko, teka, first time ako nakakakita na ang laki na ng diferensya nung NEP at nung GIA, And then, palaki din ang unprogrammed funds. And then, palaki rin ng palaki ang budget nung, ang tawag namin
Yung confidential funds po, at saka intelligence funds, gano'n na ba kalaki yun o talagang nagballoon din?
Nagballoon yung Confi and Intel funds, hindi lang yon. Ito yung tinatawag natin na yung allocation ng Confi funds, kung sino-sino na yung nabigyan, di ba? Remember when we drafted the guidelines, the Joint Circular 2015-1, we're looking at, sabihin natin, judicious allocation of confidential funds. Remember, the difference is, kung intelligence, ito yung mga military practitioners. Yung confidential for civilian, right? Nakita natin, yung previous na Office of the Vice President, walang confidential funds. At eto may confidential funds. Kanina nabanggit mo, ano yung pakiramdam mo? Sorry ha.
It's okay,
Commissioner.
Commissioner.
Nauubo.
That's where you can have some water.
Parang nauubo po kayo
sa mga pangyayari.
Nakikita ninyo yung mga...
So, ang una kasi nating napuna dyan ay hindi natin pwedeng totally alsan ng responsibilidad ng Office of the President. Remember sila yung unang nagbigay ng budget dyan? Noong 20...
Nag-transmit sila ng mga
nag-transfer
110 million to the OVP.
Yes. And
Is
we're
that
saying...
constitutional? Kasi nagkaroon ng debate doon at that time, pero parang sa dami nang nagyayari siguro na nakaligtaan
hindi nakita, di ba? Pero we're saying, kung noon pa lang nasolusyonan na yon, Wala tayong problema ngayon, di ba? That's why a lot of times sasabihin, bakit natin pinupukpok yung OVP? When in fact, may problema din yung nag-transfer. Kasi wala siyang particular source, di ba? It-transfer siya from special fund, from the budget of the Office of the President. And we know very well na kami nung nag-audit kami, pag ino-audit namin ng Confi and Intel, kailangan yan very specific ang source. Meaning to say, meron ka talagang amount na nakalagay doon sa GIA. Remember, pinagtalunan niya na ito ba ay zero, itong line item na ito, remember, that's it. No? So, pag tinignan natin, itong nakikita natin ngayon, offshoot yan nung nakaraang di ba? So, hindi natin pwedeng bugbugin ng husto yung OVP. Dahil pinayagan niya ng OP, siya nag-transfer ng pera. On the other hand, when it comes to utilization and accounting and reporting, hindi naman natin pwedeng idamay ang presidente, di ba? Kasi ang gumamit ay Office of the Vice President.
How satisfactory? Kasi ngayon pinag-uusapan na yung in fact, no Friday, in-interview po namin si Representative Joel Chua, siya po yung head ng committee hearing na nagdadissect sa OVP budget. Tinanong ko sa kanya, bakit hindi nalang hantayin matapos yung COA audit bago natin pag-usapan to? Sabi niya matagal daw. Kasi di ba may notice of disallowance na. Ano po yung view niyo as a previous COA commissioner? On this process, ano pa dapat magyari? Kapag may notice of disallowance, sapat bang hantayin? Or sapat na ba sabihin, bago pa masettle ng COA at ng agency, at pwede na ba nating kilatisin?
Pag hindi sinagot, ano mangyayari?
Pwede ba itaas ko ng konti, ilagay natin sa tamang konteksto?
Sure.
Unang-una, ang magandang tingnan natin dyan ay ano ba yung nangyayari sa kasalukuyan? Ang biro ko nga ito kung tutuusin, satisfied ako doon sa nangyayaring palitan ng kuro-kuro, sa nangyayaring exchange of information. Ang tanong ko lang, bakit ang basa ng mamamayan dito at ang basa ng Office of the Vice President ay parang it's political, it's harassment, di ba? When in fact, it is an exercise of legislative power, which is the scrutiny of the budget. And we can say that this is the time when we are seeing the display of the allocation of powers between the executive and the legislative, di ba? The legislative sa kanila yung power of the purse, di ba? Pero ang nakakalungkot din doon, kitang-kita din natin yung tinatawag nating weakening of the institutions. When you have no less than the Office of the Vice President answering in that manner to questions being asked by the chair of the Appropriations Committee, hindi naman ito personal di ba? You are answering, you're making that answer as the head, the representative of the office you represent. On the other hand, kung yung chair naman ng appropriations ang kausap mo, she is representing, di ba, an office or an institution. So natin nakikita yung kawalan ng respeto. Pangatlo, at ito yung isa ko pang gustong ipunto. Kung hindi dumating yung Office of the Vice President, yung mismong Vice President, hindi rin dumating yung tao niya, kasama yan sa invitation Halimbawa, ganito, pag nag-invite ako sa inyo, kunyari sasabihin ko, kunyari ang President ay kunyari ang Vice President si Gretchen, kayong dalawa yung member niya, or ikaw yung, kunyari ikaw yung treasurer, etc. Well, I think, pag send ng sabina sa inyo, hindi siya dumating, at least magdadating yung tao mo, di ba? Kasi nandun yung ano. So this is the first time na nakikita natin, nasaan ang respeto sa institutions.
Commissioner, you have to admit, though, the timing is, there's also questions around the timing, because the previous year,
there were no
Congress
questions.
Congress passed their budget, no questions asked.
In 22
under
minutes.
20 minutes. At
exactly
that point,
my point.
nag-balloon na yung confidential funds. But no questions asked, not even where will you use it. They pass it, right? And then suddenly this year, it flipped completely. So
that's exactly my point. Kaya nga sabi ko, dapat sana, ito yung gusto nating exchanges. Ito yung gusto nating scrutiny ng budget, di ba? Pinag-uusapan natin, saan mo ginamit? Paano mo ginamit? And then you ask for the COA audit report, no? This time, akala ng mga tao namumulitika, akala ng mga napopoliticize. Bakit? This is the first time na ginagawa niya. Kasi lagi nilang tinatawag is courtesy, di ba? Parang it's an existing practices. Okay. Practices,
Better
diba?
late than never.
Now, talking of the COA process naman, di ba? Remember, this is Confi and Intel funds, which is different from the process of a regular fund. Ang lungkot ko lang, ang biro nga ng mga audience, bakit daw mas alam pa ng legislator yung isasagot dapat ng auditor?
okay, wait.
Ito ba yung reason ba't ka tumakbo?
Put a pin on that, because we have to go for a very short break. We will circle back to that conversation. Just a very quick break. We'll come back with former COA Commissioner Heidi Mendoza. aspirant Heidi Mendoza.
Okay. Commissioner Mendoza, we were talking during the break, no, na parang, paano nga ba talaga i-audit itong confidential intelligence funds? Kasi by their very nature, they're confidential and used for intelligence. So, paano ba mag-liquidate once and for all? Ano ba yung rules?
Okay, under the Joint Circular 2015-1, it is as simple as yung tawag nga natin na certification audit. Ano? Of course, merong envelope dyan, envelope yung nakasealed, pero nakalagay doon yung work and financial plan, kung saan mo gagastusin yun, nakaplano, anong proyekto, ganyan. And then, meron ka certification. It's usually the certification by the special disbursing officer and the head of the agency, yung tumanggap ng confidential funds. Now, in the event, katulad nito, na nag-issue ng notice of disallowance, the COA may require the submission of the supporting documents. Pero ito yung kailangan nating linawin, kasi nandito yung medyo gray area. Hindi yung Confi and Intelligence Audit Unit ang magko-conduct ng audit.
Okay.
So it's a different kind of audit. Kumbaga, nakita mo na ngayon under the guidelines, tama yung ginawa nila. Na-submit yung documents, may certification, and that's it. Pero nag-iba yung situation di ba? Ni-review mo and you are not convinced, and therefore you can now ask for the submission of the documents. True naman, sasabihin mo, hindi naman namin pwedeng gawin yan kasi nga, ikaw yung Confi and Intel Audit Unit. However, the Commission on Audit is the supreme audit institution. And as such, nothing prevents the Commission on Audit, specifically the chairperson, to order the creation of a fraud audit committee that will, or a fraud audit team that will look into the audit of
We
this.
don't have that currently.
Wala pang iniuutos. Hindi pwedeng silang magano kasi nga liquidation yan. At saka yun yung unit nila, yun lang ang functions nila. No? Now, there should be an in-depth audit para makita talaga. Pag sinabi natin na in-depth audit, ano yung titingnan natin? May mga red flags tayo mga auditor, meron tayong sinasabi, kahit mga investigador, tinatawag natin, follow the money.
Right.
Ang biro ko nga nun, kung 11 days mo nagastos yan, may surveillance ka na, meron ka pang rental of safe offices.
Safe houses.
Oo. Meron ka pang reward to asset and other informant, di ba? Sabi ko, you can hardly do that in 11 days. Diba? I mean, common sense.
Even
Yes, yes, yes.
even if
11
nationwide,
days, you cannot do that.
even if it's nationwide,
It's
which
not
is the
reasonable.
argument of
No,
the
you cannot.
OVP.
You cannot.
What if, parang kumbaga naka-bulk lang yung, let's say, nag-assign siya ng payment day or payment week or payment na 2 weeks, kaya ganun lang yung time
Sabay-sabay.
frame na na-disburse? Di ba may mga kumpanya kasing ganun, o yung check pick up, ganito lang pwede, itong oras lang, itong araw lang.
May process yung surveillance Are you telling me na, eto yun for you to be able to give a significant amount of reward, that means more or less, the price of information is commensurate. The value of information is commensurate, right? Are we saying that in 11 days we can get that information in that short amount of time? Di ba? Nagtatago ka pa ng informant mo dyan, mag-house ka pa dun sa di ba? Pangalawa, ang nakakapag-ano kasi nito, dapat kasi meron niyang plan at i-compare mo yung plan. Because what you're saying is right. Paano kung sabay-sabay mo siyang biniraan, etc. Di ba? So you have to compare. Asan yung security plan mo? Di ba? Yun. Asan yung project? Asan yung ano yung information? Di ba? Which is exactly the point of the auditor naman. Sabi nila, hindi na-establish yung kahalagahan ng information kung bakit mo binayaran ng reward yung
Is
asset.
there a national agency that has oversight over the security plan that you're talking about? Because I kind of read the start of the joint circular. And there is the GCG, or the Governance
For
Commission for
corporation.
GOCCs, which is the Central Advisory, Monitoring, and Oversight Body. Meron bang ganun? Yung ba yun?
Hindi yan. That is for the corporation.
Iba ito.
For
Okay.
GOCC.
For
Wala-
local governments, it's DILG, di ba?
So
For
they're
local
supposed
government.
to audit where all of these confi and intelligence funds
Hindi
goes
sila
to?
mag-audit. No, hindi sila mag-audit.
Or at least have
Halamin lang nila yung
oversight.
security.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yung plan.
yes, meron. Kasi pag liquidation, they should be given a copy. Ang ano lang dito ay, dapat, may tumitingin ng overall security plan, di ba? Kunyari, Office of the Vice President yan, which is a bit weird, di ba? Kasi kung Office of the Vice President, anong klaseng security ang paggagamitan mo, di ba? Yun nga yung tinatanong namin, di ba? And the other thing is, do they have the competence to use this fund? Di ba ang gagamitin din nila military? Tama ako, or the PNP, or, di ba? Or the intelligence. Bakit hindi na lang sa kanila ibaba?
Commissioner, can you explain to us how significant how significant is it that she was issued a notice of disallowance? Because I looked into it, and former Vice President Lenny Robredo at one point also got a notice of disallowance.
I think not a
Medyo
notice of
common
disallowance.
naman.
Yeah, it's
what you
fairly
get is,
common, right?
What you get is an audit observation memorandum, I think. Yeah.
AOM.
Now,
That comes before the
Pero may-
disallowance.
pero
kunyari
may
nag-audit ka, may financial implication. So mag-i-issue ka ng notice of disallowance. Before that, kung hindi ka pa sigurado, for example, nag-travel si Gretchen, wala siyang certificate of appearance. Sabi ko, ay, disallow ko to. Ibig sabihin, hindi ko pwedeng i-take up sa libro. Kasi may duda pa ako kung nag-travel talaga si Gretchen. So that will be a notice of suspension. Kapag sinabi kong, Gretchen, mag-submit ka sa akin ng in X number of days, 30 days, at kailangan makita ko kung nag-travel ka talaga. Then si Gretchen nagbigay sa akin ng resibo ng biyahe, may certification na certificate of appearance, ililift ko ngayon yung notice of disallowance.
But I mean to say, give us a sense of how careful auditors are. Is it just one person deciding on the AOM?
No.
Is it a whole team?
It's the whole team.
And
It's
how
the whole
long do they take? Do they deliberate it extensively? Do they take one look at it and said, oh, kulang, AOM na yan?
No. There is a process na ginagawa, di ba? As I've said, if you feel like may monetary implications ito, and then hindi mo na i-submit within the required time, remember bago mag-mature ang notice of suspension to a disallowance, you have 60 days. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, hindi ito pwedeng sabihin na, walang kwenta yan, hindi lang kami nakapag-submit ng resibo. Wrong, kasi tapos na yun di ba? Binigyan ka na ng pagkakataong mag-issue ng resibo or whatever kung anong gusto mong i-issue. And the very fact that it matured into a disallowance, ibig sabihin, hindi mo na i-submit yung dokumento,
Late
di
ka
ba?
pa ng 60 days
Oo.
Paano po maaaring mangyari?
Okay.
Kapag hindi po na ipaliwanag, saan napunta?
Okay, yung notice of disallowance, may kasama yung tinatawag natin na order na i-refund. Pero gaya ng tinatawag nating mayroon tayong due process, di ba? We have a due process. And part of the due process is, pwede kang mag-appeal. Yung appeal mo, sasabihin mo kunyari na mukhang hindi tama ang appreciation ng audit team. Pero hindi mo na pwedeng sabihin, ay, hindi ako nag-submit. Ito yung dokumento. Tapos na yun right? So, ikaw na lang, questionin mo, hindi tama ang appreciation ng auditor. Pwede mong ilabas dyan yung the auditor has no capacity or competence to audit intelligence matters. Tinuturuan ko na ng isasagot.
We appreciate it.
So yan, and it will go up doon sa tinatawag nating commission proper.
Pwede bang kasuhan?
Pwede na. In fact, nung panahon namin, meron kaming working relationship with the Office of the Ombudsman. Basta nakapag-issue na ng ND, hindi na hinihintay yung issuance ng notice of finality. Nagkakaso na kaagad ang Office of the Ombudsman.
So, which means they have to pay back the money.
Dapat.
Pero yun nga, which is another, ibang nobela pa yun, yung ibabalik yung pera. Kasi yun yung
Medyo
pinag-uusapan
malabo.
natin.
Wait, sorry, we're running out of time, but we have to segue to your candidacy.
Yun
Yes.
nga itatanong ko,
sorry,
is
go ahead.
all of this the reason why you decided to run? Or just a part of it?
But just to put the context, she is a whistleblower, former
Yes.
whistleblower. Back in 2011, if I'm correct, as COA commissioner, you revealed financial irregularities in the armed forces of the Philippines
Yung mga controller,
with tens
Garcia
of millions
those
of pesos handed out as send-off money, implicating Major General Carlos Garcia, an Army comptroller. So, mabalik lang natin doon. Yun po ang kasaysayan ni Ms. Heidi.
Siyempre, ang
dapat
tanda
ikaw
ko na
ginawa.
kasi sobrang familiar ako with that. No? Kaya kilala ko si Commissioner Mendoza.
So is that going to be your platform, Commissioner? Budget?
Auditing.
Among the many. Well, siguro yun, yung, di ba, binanggit nga, yung team kadiliman and team kasamaan. Parang ako, wala bang magsasabi na merong team pag-asa o merong team kaliwanagan, di ba? And second, alam mo, napaka-passionate ko dyan sa pagdating sa public service na yan. And most of the time, lagi kong kausap yung mga tao sa bureaucracy. Kahit mga auditors, parati kong kausap yung mga yan. I mean, you belong 27 years ako sa COA, di ba? So you hear them say, naku ma'am, ano ba yan, paano na ba, etc. Tapos makikita mo, kinukonsulta ka rin. Uy, ipapasa na yung, yung State Audit Code of the Philippines. Ipapasa na yung procurement law. And then tatanungin mo, anong nangyari? Hindi gumagalaw kasi ang chair ng committee, si so and so. And ako parang, Diyos ko, Panginoon ko, on matters like this na napaka-sensitive, ang may hawak, hindi nakapag-aral ng college.
Commissioner, ito yung gusto ko itanong pang isa Suma total, no? All in general, nakukulangan ba kayo sa pag-audit ng ating state funds?
Nakukulangan ako sa tapang at nakukulangan ako sa pagposisyon sa tamang panahon.
May nagsabi po kasi sa akin na pagkatapos mag-audit ng COA, hindi naman silang in charge na. Kumbaga nandyan yung reports. Nire-report nila ano yung
It's up to the government
kulang.
to do what
Sino
they
ba ang
want.
dapat magpaingay para mapansin ng taong bayan na may irregularities sa isang banda?
Unang-una, ang bawat report ay ipinapublish sa website ng COA. So the citizens can, di ba? Duty natin yan,
But
di
not
ba?
everybody does.
Yes, of course.
Do that.
But at the same time, eto rin, kung mga fraud audit reports, automatic yan na itinatransmit sa Office of the Ombudsman, no? Kaya lang nalulungkot ako kasi may nabagong proseso. Kasi nung dati, pag nanggawa kami ng fraud audit report, ipinapublish namin sa aming website. So people are aware na may fraud audit report na itatransmit sa Office of the Ombudsman. Ngayon wala na. Diretso na sa Ombudsman. Therefore, napaka-powerful ngayon ng Ombudsman. Ano? Pag dinismiss nila, hindi na nalaman ng tao na nagkaroon ng audit report na ganito. So ito siguro yung nagpapabigat ng kalooban ko.
What caused the change in procedure?
Hindi ko alam, wala na ako sa loob eh. Ibinalita na lang sa akin. Sabi niya, ma'am, sabi ko, bakit wala na ako nakikitang mga fraud audit report na medyo updated na nasa website ng COA? Ma'am, nabago na po ang proseso eh. They are now being directly issued dun sa Office of the Ombudsman. Well, ang narinig ko, ang sabi nila, kasi daw, parang nahaharas na yung ano, 'di ba kapag nalabas na sa yung audit report doon sa
Napapangunahan.
website, parang nakapangalan na sila, tapos parang in other words, tama rin naman, parang naaapektuhan. Halimbawa, si Gretchen na subject ng fraud audit at mayroon daw na malverse na pera. Samantalang pupunta pa yun sa ombudsman at hahanapin pa nila yung tinatawag nating fact-finding at saka yung tinatawag natin kung ito ba ay nasatisfy yung elements of the crime, 'di ba? So, yun ang sinasabing kadahilanan. Now, meron kaming naging solusyon dyan nung nandun pa ako sa United Nations. Kapag yung report ay hindi pa final, meron kaming tinatawag na redacted copy. So, i-release mo yung report as is, nakadetail doon, ano yung klaseng fraud or misappropriation na nangyari. Pero to protect the names of the individuals, kasi nga pupunta pa sa court, redacted ang copies ng ano. So, yung mga dinidistribute na copy, redacted. Only
Wala
the
mo ng
one being
pangalan.
submitted doon sa Office of the Ombudsman or doon sa investigating body, yung naka-identify yung kanyang names. So, nakakalungkot kasi itong mga prosesong ito, nagwi-weaken ng existing control. At para doon sa mga matagal nang naglingkod sa gobyerno, I know marami namang mga auditor yung talagang sinasabi nating minamahal yung kanilang trabaho.
I am reminded of that young auditor who died at the height of the COVID pandemic. Remember? He died of a heart attack, apparently from overwork. We're running out of time, Commissioner, but we wanted to talk about your candidacy. You're running as an independent
Yes.
for the Senate. That's going to be a
Yes,
high bar
Regina.
to clear. What do you think your chances are?
Sa akin, winning is a bonus. Daring is the game changer.
Tulad ng sabi nyo, kulang ng tapang. Ganun.
Saka biro ko nga, Regina. Kung hindi naman ako tumakbo, talo din ako. Talo ako kasi hindi ko napagbigyan ng pananawala
You've got
ako.
nothing to lose.
So mabuti nang matalo ng dumalaban.
What's one thing you would change about COA if elected to strengthen the institution?
Well, strengthening the independence of the Commission. Hindi dapat pumipila ang COA sa Congress para sa budget. They should have a fixed rate of budget for the Commission. Imagine, kung yung auditor mo pupunta sa budget hearing, ako, nanggaling ako dyan. Dyan nanggagaling yung, alisin mo yung auditor mo dito, masyadong mahigpit. O may audit observation ka na ganito, hindi ko type, okay? Hindi
you
mo
would
na
get
natin
that behind the
pag-usapan yung
scenes.
budget hanggat hindi ko nakikita kung anong changes sa audit observation. Ako nagsasalita kasi experience ko yan.
Behind the scenes, they would say that.
Exactly.
Ginigipit
Oo.
po ang COA.
Lahat naman, di ba?
naman, kasi
Lahat
may budget.
naman.
Lahat
Oo,
ng may
kaya
budget.
Ang aming sinasabi, at ito ay inihain na natin yan, yung tinatawag nating, dapat kung totoo yung tinatawag nating fiscal autonomy at yung independence ng commission as a constitutional commission, knowing the sensitivity of its function and its mandate, then dapat yung budget namin percentage of the audit fee, di ba? Ngayon sinasabi nila, masyado namang malaki. Kasi pag sinabi mong percentage of the GAA, masasama pati mga foreign loan, etc. Come on, pwede naman natin pag-usapan kung ano-ano lang yung iwa 1%. But honestly, alam mo ang feedback sa akin, may mga congressman daw na talagang ayaw nilang gawin yan. Kasi wala silang pagkakataong papilahin yung COA at sabihin ko anong gusto nila.
Maybe next time we'll name and shame them. But
Looks like there should be a part 2 to
there
this.
should be a part 2. We're gonna have you come back to our part 2 of
Ang dami ko natutunan
how to-
tonight.
Baka lalo
how to
tayong hindi
fix-
manalo.
How to strengthen ko.
Well, props to you for daring and being brave about it. And she is a senatorial aspirant for the upcoming midterms, running on
Running as an
an
independent.
Running as
anti-corruption
an anti-corruption.
platform. Not just in these elections, but her whole life, I believe so. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you again. Former COA Commissioner, now senatorial aspirant, Heidi Mendoza.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much po.
And as we have been saying, kanina po kaming walang oras, so that's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.